Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Europa Universalis 4 and the mod for EU4 called Mesoamerica Universalis that was recently released on the Steam Workshop and is currently available there as well. I will be a link in the description below where you can just simply go on Steam if you have EU4 and download it in the Steam Workshop. It should be one of the first in the list, if not the first in the list, because it is fairly popular right now. It was, as I mentioned, recently released and to high praise due to the amount of work and love that was put into it. So the mod itself is an overhaul mod that focuses entirely on Mesoamerica, as the name might suggest, and as you might see on the screen here, even though it's a bit tilted. It unfortunately happens if you go into the options menu and then go back, the screen is a bit tilted, and then over here on the side, on the left side, it will wobble out, which you will see in a minute. And the mod adds so many countries, so many new countries, so much history, so many new events, decisions, and really so much. And the best way to really show the mod is to play it. And we will start a playthrough here, and we will play as what I think is pronounced Tenochtitlan. I'm uncertain if that's the pronunciation. I tried to look it up in advance, but I failed to find a definitive pronunciation of it. I think it's Tenochtitlan, or maybe Tenochtitlan. Either or for me sounds good, so I don't know. And as you can see here, so goddamn many nations, so many small city-states, and so much history in the game. I will show you in a second. But you can also play as, you can play any of these, like the Zapotec, you can play as the Nahuatl, the Puripeka, or the Mayan over here. So yeah, or the Mixtec for that matter. So there's a lot in here. We will play as the Tenochtitlan, as I mentioned before, which is part of something called the Triple Alliance with, I think it is this one over here, Tlacopan, and also this one over here called Texcoco. So yeah, let's just head into play and get into the game. As I mentioned before, it has made all of these nations from scratch. All the history, all the events, all the decisions, and is quite a lot of that into, at least in Tenochtitlan. I don't know about the other ones. It is in beta, as I mentioned, so more will be added later on. So see here, in 1428, Tenochtitlan was on the rise, ruled by the newly elected Itzcoatl, or Obsidian Serpent apparently, an experienced, strong leader and excellent soldier of 46 years. The Tenochs and their allies had overthrown the oppressive Aztec Empire, centered in this is killing me, and sacked the city. Now the greatest city in the Valley of Mexico, Tenochtitlan stands ready to forge the greatest empire Mexico has ever seen and prove themselves worthy successors of the Toltecs of yore. We will shake the foundations of the world. And here you get an information screen on what the mod adds and what it does. And we will be playing with the old history scenario. This is basically, they have added in, so if you want to go to a historical scenario, then in 1519 or there around, there will be an invasion, a Spanish invasion, and you have to contend with that. Or in the old history, there won't be an invasion, but you will get the invasions through other means. And we will play the old history scenario, since they described that, since it is in beta. There could be bugs with the invasion itself, and it might not work out the way it's intended. So here we are in Mexico Universalis. Yeah, definitely, that will be the name for it. So, where to begin? Where to begin? There's a lot of mechanics that have been added to the game. I guess we can start with certain modifiers. We have law, centralization, meritocracy, spiritualism, and militancy, that all will have different modifiers, and all will be modified through the decisions you make. If you go to war a lot, then militancy will increase. Militancy, for example, if you're in peace and you have high militancy, then you will lose legitimacy, because the people are very militaristic and want to be at war, and if you're at peace, you're weak, so your rule loses legitimacy. That seems reasonable, to me at least. There will be spiritualism as well, and especially if you have high, then your armies will be stronger. But at the same time, when you're at peace, and if you might need peace at times, you will lose up to 10 yearly legitimacy, which is incredible amount. You will have spiritualism that increases missionary strength and all that. So usually spiritualism is just good. Meritocracy, and you can see what it does. Strong law and centralization. That has good things sometimes, but honestly, decentralization is pretty darn good as well. So those will be 5 modifiers that will be for any nation that you play as, and they remind me a little bit of the sliders that were in EU3, and I wish they kind of adopted a similar system, or somewhat similar system to vanilla, because it allows for more customization of your nation. Maybe not in the matter that they do now, maybe not through country modifiers, but in some way it would be nice to have something similar to that. Oh well, enough rant about those things. Another thing that will be fairly important is that you have draft laws that you can set through these decisions. So if we take a look here, you can set draft laws for nobility, artisans, and commoners. And now when I think about it, maybe I should take a look at development itself. Development in EU4 works completely different to how it works here, or rather here it works completely different to how it works in EU4. Instead of having tax base and having production and manpower, there will be commoner, there will be artisan, and there will be elite populations. So each development represents 1,000 people. So in this city, for example, there's 75,000 people in total. 53,000 of them are commoners, 15,000 are artisans, and 7,000 are elite, and they will give certain benefits. And this draft law that I mentioned will allow you to set for each of these three stratas. So for the commoners, for example, you can put on eldest son, and that will increase your manpower modifier, but at the same time cause unrest. And you can also have all sons of age, and that will give quite a bit of local unrest everywhere because people don't want you to take all their sons away. And you can set it for the nobility as well, and they will give different modifiers, like less tax base or local tax modifier, and doesn't give as much in local manpower due to there being fewer nobility. And artisans, the same here. You will have less production efficiency, but you can get some manpower in case you need it. So for Tenochtitlan, which will be fairly militaristic, it could be a good idea to set draft laws on fairly high. You can also set tribute requirements, because these nations were not centralized on a very high level. Most of it will be decentralized. They will have tributaries. They will have areas that will give manpower and people at a certain time every year or so. And if you will get events that pop up from time to time where you send out the collectors to collect tax and manpower from your tributaries. And some of them will decide to not do that if you are unlucky. And that will give a pretty massive modifier for that province that refuses. That will probably lead to some sort of revolt. And all of the provinces that are not part of your main capital will be at 95% autonomy, and you will mostly gain tax and stuff from them that way, from that tributary system. So as you can see, the city, the Tenochtitlan itself has 0 autonomy, everyone else has 95. So that's one thing to keep in mind. There is 2 primary systems of government. The one that we have right now is a hegemonic kingdom, which uses that. It gives a really big national unrest bonus, so there's less national unrest as a result. But at the same time, your autonomy on most of these will be pretty shit. You can also change to a different kind, which is doesn't have the national unrest modifiers and stuff like that. It's more prone to revolts, and you have to put in quite a bit of investment in order to deal with the problems that will arise from having a more centralized realm. But at the same time, you don't have to rely on tributaries, you don't have to rely on tributes, you get taxes as if they were basically how it works in EU4 itself. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now I kind of throw myself off track. What else is there that has changed? Is so much. For example, in the Nahuatl, I don't know, maybe this is how it works in EU4 vanilla. I haven't really played in Mexico or Mesoamerica in EU4 vanilla. But in Nahuatl religion, you capture people when you're at war, and they will give various modifiers depending on how many captives you have, such as yearly prestige and local unrest and infantry combatability for whatever reason. So yeah, I think we'll just start playing, because there's just so much in it. We will start playing as in any regular game. We have the Chalco over here. That will be one of our main enemies. We will add them to our rivals. We have Xochimilco. That's not how you say it, I think, but Xochimilco, sure. Where are you? We will add you as well, and then we have to be careful here, because, as I mentioned, they are part of a triple alliance, and there's a specific mechanic for that as well in the game. You have here assess our influence in the triple alliance. So you start out allied to Tlacopan and also Texcoco. And there's an influence between your nations. So currently, we and Texcoco have the same amount of influence, and Tlacopan have 10. What this means is that you will gain influence from the number of provinces you have if you have positive prestige, over 70 legitimacy, and positive diplomatic reputation. And also your influence will be lowered if you have any of the, well, if you don't have them, and if you're not allied to both of the other members of the Triple Alliance. And the Triple Alliance means that you will have people who are very willing to be allied to you, but at the same time you can go to war against you. They are not allies that will last forever. They won't take any shit that you do, and there might be events that pit you against each other. And if you dominate the Triple Alliance, say we conquered all of the territories in the south, we maybe help them out with various things, or events give us more influence, then we could enact the decision to dominate the Triple Alliance, and they will put them as vassals, both of them. That could be pretty good, so we might be aiming for that. Because in the Aztec Empire, as it's known nowadays, there was essentially just the Triple Alliance, though Tenochtitlan was the dominant city, and the other ones became more subsidiaries over time. And one thing I'd just like to mention before we finally get started is that they have added an encyclopedia here that will give you some information about the gameplay, a lot of information about the history itself, and everything around it. So, like, you could read so much, and here's even pronunciation guide, which I might have should have taken a look at before. Nahuatl pronunciation guide. Yeah, wait. Maybe they should have added Tenochtitlan. Oh, Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan. Ah, sure. I was pretty close. I was pretty close. I'm pretty happy. How do I get rid of this? Back. Oh, back. There we go. And they also have sources and further reading. So if you want to read up on this time period, they have added sources and various books that they have used for the mod itself, which is really cool. So you can definitely tell that there's a lot of love and labor put into it to make it as close to, the game as close and fitting to Mesoamerican and Mesoamerican history as possible. So that is one thing that really struck me when starting out this mod, is just the amount of detail. Another thing that has changed is that most of the provinces will have forts. The forts themselves, everything changed now. And as we started time, meritocracy changed, spiritualism, we got militancy 2, we lost centralization 1 and so forth. So a lot of things have changed. So now we have different modifiers. We have decentralization 3, which adds a lot of good things. The only thing is trade steering, we don't need that, and monthly autonomy change, we don't need that either. So more decentralization can only mean good things, for us at least. So you don't really want centralization per se. In EU4 and EU3, centralization was only a good thing. You couldn't really go wrong with centralization. Oh well, that was a sidetrack. So the forts themselves. Taking over forts is much faster, the fewer days that takes in between turns, but every single province more or less has a fort, and the forts cost, as a result, much less. We currently have 6 forts, and we will try to deactivate them now as we are in peace. Though I don't expect that peace to last for too long. I don't really expect that at all. How is our economy? Not too bad, or actually not too good. More to the point, we do earn 3, which is pretty good, as we only have a total income of 5. Maybe we should add an advisor. We start with a really good Hue, Latuani, Itzcoatl, Tenoch. It's pretty darn good. -5 years of separatism. And yeah, I like him a lot. Hopefully he doesn't die. And our heir is also pretty darn good. As long as we don't get a guy called Montezuma, we should be fine. Or wait, was Montezuma with the Inca or with the Aztec? I think with the Aztec. I think so. Not certain though. Should look it up. I think I will, after this video, take a look on whether Montezuma was Aztec or Incan. Well, let's just join up with our army, even though we have quite a few territories, and some of them will be first causeway and I think second causeway. Do we have a third one? And here we have a dike apparently. Netzohualcoyotl's dike. So it's a very strange province that goes across the lake here that is owned by Texcoco. I wonder why though. They are a fair bit away from it, so we really want that. Though as you can see, they do love us. 200. And so does Tlacopan. 200 there as well. Let's get some more men. One thing that I should add, if you try out this mod for yourself, or just give it a shot, which as I mentioned you should, because it's a really cool mod, at least warrants one playthrough, or one try, is not to play the game on 5 in speed. Oh, Slacael, what? Nephew of Itzcoatl and brother of some guy I can't pronounce, is a rising power in the Triple Alliance. It was he who convinced Itzcoatl and the rest of the Mexica people to fight the Tepanecs instead of voluntarily submitting when Maxtla threatened to destroy both Tenochtitlan and Tlatelolco. These names are not easy. It was he who put his life on the line to deliver the ritual declaration of war to Maxtla, and it was he whose ingenious military strategy defeated the large Tepanec army on the field and sacked Azcapotzalco. Sure. At the end of the Tepanec War, was promoted to the office of person of the army for his excellent service and is now in charge of our battlefield strategy. We are lucky to have such a great man among us, who is likely to be greater still in the future. That's really good. We got a really nice modifier, plus 7.5% discipline and land leader shock plus 2. This is great. We start out with Itzcoatl as our leader and a really good leader as that. So as you can imagine, we need to be a bit more militaristic in our approach. And we definitely will. Just to show the thing about not going at speed 5, let's take a look at how fast that goes. And the game has a limited time span, or more reduced time span, so you do lose out if you go that way. Here we have that Texcoco requests help. Apparently there are some separatists that have risen up, and we can send them manpower as well as money and get some nice Triple Alliance influence. And we will do so, even though we will go into depth upon doing it. Just to help them. And apparently we have a comet sighted. Nothing to do. Warriors do not read... What? Warriors do not read comets? That's not good. We have low stability immediately, and it costs a lot to boost stability. As to be expected from a realm with a great deal of decentralization. The large Confederated Archipelago is one of our primary competitors in the Valley of Mexico, blocking our expansion into the rich and populous southern zone of the area. Okay, so this is that we will... This guy, Xochimilco, they are a threat to us. They are blocking our advance to the south, so we can try to harass them. And that will most likely provoke them into going to battle against us. So we should be ready here. No, they harassed? Ah. They declare war, Lower the speed, Alright, keep it up. Xochimilco declared war. They don't have any allies, and all of our allies helped out, so this will be an excellent opportunity to gain us some land and strength. We will do that, and also some money so we can pay back that loan. That would be nice. A victory immediately. And one of these phases are 7 days, so 1 week each. So it will go pretty fast. It will go pretty darn fast to siege down the forts. But as a result, there's forts pretty much everywhere. Which is more reminiscent to how EU4 was before they added the new fort system. And then we also had, well, just a few seconds ago, the collector event that will send out collectors to the various provinces and gather back up some money and men for the army. And even though we only have 8,000 men, we're doing some pretty good work. And I think we will outright annex these people. Mostly because they don't deserve to be alive. And mostly because I really want that money. I think you also earn quite a bit from raiding here. If we look at the province, how much does it have? It's only 2.2. So not too much. Yeah, only 2.2. I thought it would be more. But at least that's 2.2 is close to I don't know, close to 40% or something of the total income we had before. So still pretty good. We don't want to rent any condottieri. Maybe they should change the name in this mod for something that's more fitting than condottieri. Then again, that's really nitpicking to the extreme. Alright, try to... I think they're going to kill themselves. Yeah, most definitely. They're killing themselves now on us. Wonderful. Who is winning? We are participating the most, but narrowly. Very narrowly. There we go. Let's sue for peace and take their land. It barely adds any aggressive expansion. It doesn't cost much at all, and we can get... No, we cannot get that all that money. That is unfortunate. But I want as much as possible. Come on, give me some money. Close enough. There we go, 77. There should be enough to pay off the debts, I believe. Here we go. Let's see on the debts. Pay back. They barely paid back. We can add a free slot here. And the idea groups have been changed as well. And on the military side we have mass mobilization, elite orders, attrition warfare and quick victory. So I played a little bit of this mod in preparation just to see what happens, and I picked this one because it seemed pretty good to have land force limit modifier. What I didn't notice is that it adds only a little bit, though it gives you certain buildings that you can't have otherwise. But overall, not worth too much. Elite orders, however, gives plus 5 discipline immediately. And that is pretty nice, plus the military army tradition, though it gives military militancy as well. So that's problematic. You also gain and lose legitimacy based on if you win or lose battles. That is also fairly risky, so you're going full military if you take elite orders. Quick victory has a nice land attrition bonuses, or rather it will reduce the land attrition, so you don't have to deal with that too much. Decreases war exhaustion and get some more discipline. I think this one is fairly balanced, I must admit. Attrition warfare is pretty good if you're fighting against a big enemy or plan to fight, but we are the big dog, at least in the Mexico Valley. So I think quick victory. We'll go for quick victory. There we go. That should be fine. And they can gather up over here, and I think at least in the main hub of ours, we will take away all the forts. And that just made me realize that there's one more thing I forgot to mention, since there's a lot of things to mention in this. And that thing is a certain thing called communication. So as you can imagine, in this time period, communication was not very easy. You had to do it via horse, which didn't really exist in Mesoamerica, if I don't recall incorrectly, until the Spanish brought horses, or the Europeans brought horses to America. So you had to do it via messengers and some sort of system to deal with it. I can't even imagine. Like, building a big empire here, how would you even handle that? How would you communicate? And that is reflected in the game by adding a modifier called communication. And the capital has perfect communication. Since it is in the capital, you can only walk down the street and tell the person you want to talk to and say, hey, don't do this, or do this instead. And that will give you really good local unrest, minus 16, and some really good modifiers. And the further away from the capital you go, there will be less and less communication. And the ones that are completely adjacent to the capital will also have perfect communications. The ones that are a bit further away will have near perfect communication, and so forth, and until you reach over here, very good communication. But imagine if I had taken this province, for example, and this province would probably from Tenochtitlan have, I don't know, bad communication, medium communication, and it will have less and less modifier. And you will have to keep that in mind. And you can remove that effect by building a thing called regional capital that will increase the communication efficiency in that province and in the surrounding provinces. So there's another thing to keep in mind. In the beginning, it's not a big worry, but when you have a big empire, then maybe it's better to keep vassals instead of eating up all the vassals. Maybe that could be a thing. Alright, we had Tlacopan and Tetsucoco, they are our friends, but Tolican, where is Tolican? Tolican is not. We will eat up Tolican. We'll murder them. And make these our core. And really need to get that stability back up. Having negative stability is unnecessary. It's unlucky to get that sort of event so quickly. And Tenochtitlan, or now I said it in the wrong way. Tenochtitlan, sorry, has some cores, or rather claims, on the nearby region, the region surrounding this Lake Mexico or Lake Xaltocan, which unfortunately doesn't really exist anymore. None of these lakes do, except for a slight bit of one. I think here is really where Mexico City is nowadays. So it's unfortunate. I like these lakes. They're pretty nice. But anyway, we have claims on most of Chalco, all of Chalco instead, and Mizquic and Cuitlahuac and Iztapalucan. God damn it, so many names, so many hard names. We can only hope really that this nation collapses. They are our friend and we can vassalize them later and make them our little friend that does the dirty work around here. So yeah, I think that covers not all of it, not by a long shot, but it covers at least a bit of it. So if this video has piqued your interest in the mod in any way, then do please take a look at it. As I mentioned, it is available on the Steam Workshop. You can find it on, if you just go on Steam, go to EU4 on the Steam Workshop, and it should be one in the first of the list, or you can follow the link in the description below if that's your thing. It will be either way easily available. Just for the amount of work put into the mod to begin with, it is worth a shot. It is worth a shot. It's actually worth 2 shots. I gave it 3 shots until I finally got it. So maybe 3 or even 4 shots. It will be worth it. We will continue, or I will continue this playthrough in the next episode. Continuing as Tenochtitlan and conquer most of the Valley of Mexico and maybe beyond. So I hope to see you all then, and I really do hope that you have enjoyed this video and that it's been somewhat helpful to understand this mod, or helpful in some way, at least. If you did find it helpful, then please do consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff. I will see you in the next episode.